What's up, New Lifestyle Coast? Welcome to this very special evening with Pastor Marco. We are interviewing him because he just dropped Untangling Jesus from Religion. Now, I'm going to brag on this for a second before I introduce Pastor Marco. This book has been such a blessing to me. I've already read it twice. Yeah, twice. And it's such a good resource. It challenged me already, and I can already see the fruits of it in my life. And I know when you finish reading it or when you get it, you're going to be blessed by it. But let's introduce Pastor Marco. How you doing, Pastor?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good. How is it? This is your second book. How does it feel to drop your second book?
It's unreal. Never thought I would be writing books. So it really has been an amazing ride to take a chance, and see what happens. And I'm excited for it.
Yeah, let's go. Well, first question I want to kind of drop off into is, what was your inspiration for the artwork on this? Because it really ties well into what the title is.
Well, first of all, shout out to Sean for creating the cover.
Yeah.
Really, the heart behind it is this whole concept of this Jesus is so amazing, right? But unfortunately, it's been tangled up in so much.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's unfortunate because it's good things that get in the way of great things.
Yeah.
Right? And religion in itself is not bad, right? But it could become this routine, ritualistic, almost like empty things that we do. And so we had this idea of what if we showed it in a picture that the cross is beautiful, it's powerful, but when it gets tangled up with all those other things,
so good,
it gets lost in translation.
Yeah.
So Sean did a great job capturing this.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's funny that you say that because we just decked out our cross and you roasted us about it.
Yeah.
So, I think we're adding to me or the team adding to the tangling Jesus up in the power of the cross. But anyways, I grew up as a church kid, right? And so I learned all of the do's and don'ts very quickly growing up in the church. And I knew how to show face. I knew what to say. I knew what to wear. And so I could see now, looking back, the dangers of what religion added to me or put on me, the baggage, the weight of it. And in the moment, I wasn't aware of it. So how do we untangle Jesus from religion when religion is said to be built on Jesus?
Right. Again, like I said, it's not that religion in itself is bad.
Yeah.
But when we lose the heart of why we're doing the things we're doing, then it becomes just this routine. It becomes just this ritualistic, empty thing that we do. Like going to church becomes just a routine, a mundane thing. Saying prayers without your heart being attached to it. Singing songs without really knowing why we're singing them. Yeah. Or even doing good charity work, but not really having a heart attached to it. When Jesus walked the earth, he didn't create religion, right?
Yeah.
There was already religion in this timeline, in his time frame, but from his Jewish standpoint, but also from the Roman standpoint. The Romans believed in so many gods. The Jews were kind of split into the different facets of Judaism. And so when Jesus comes, he says, "Come to me, right? All of you are weary and burdened." What's interesting is, to me, it's he's saying man, you guys look like you're hurting, you're struggling, even though you have all this religion. But he said, "Come to me, I want to show you how to actually live life to the fullest." And one of my favorite things that he said was this: "I came to give you a life more abundant." And that more abundant, he's saying life that joy, that inspiration, that excitement, that you just want to do this. You don't have to, but you get to, like we always talk about. That's where we get that from. We get to do this because we want it to be that we're attached, our hearts is attached to it, our minds are attached to it, our entire beings are attached to what we're doing, because Jesus came to embody that. So Jesus is God in the flesh, embodying this is what it was supposed to be all about. And again, unfortunately, over the years, we've lost track of that, and so we have to come back and untangle some things to get to the heart of it.
Wow.
So,
wouldn't that become a reality for you, where you're okay, I feel like, because I think when you had your conversion, you talked about it, where you got stuck into this place where you're everyone has to come to Jesus. You're really intense about it. When did that realization come to you? Be wait, I need to stop and actually look at Jesus and look at his method and apply it to my life.
Yeah. So I grew up also going to church. My parents were the twice a year churchgoers, like Easter and Christmas. And I talk about that in the book, where my grandmother was a devout Christian. And so she decided almost to take ownership and take me to Sunday school with her. But she had two sisters, my aunts, who were devout Catholics. What was the beauty of that is, when I look back at them, I see them making it really all about Jesus, because they never fought about their denominations, the traditions. But somehow they decided we need to get this kid to Jesus through church. So I grew up going to Sunday school in a Nazarene church and then go to Catholic Mass at night. So I joke in the book how my denomination was Catherine, like Catholic. You know, I was like half Catholic, half Nazarene. But it wasn't until I moved here that at the age of 20, I had an encounter that really revolutionized everything for me. I was in a Christian camp at that point, and I was sitting all the way in the back, because sometimes when you're not interested, you sit all the way in the back. Yeah. And I'm not roasting anybody who sits in the back of church.
Just clarification.
But, you know, I remember sitting there, and again, I was having a good time. Yeah. You know, it was camp, it was fun. I don't remember a word the preacher was preaching, but I do remember when he said, bow your heads, close your eyes, that I did that. And for the first time in my life, I felt that I heard from God, you know. And I really felt this voice saying, like, you're living in vain, you know. And I felt like I had an encounter. It's weird to explain in that moment that God became so real. Not just real like God exists, but real personally. And that he loves me and he's for me. And I was broken in a good way. Like to realize that, wow, I need Jesus in my life. Not just, you know, God is real, but like real personal. And so that started my journey of understanding this Jesus. So I had this conviction right from there, like, okay, if this is real, what I just experienced, I need to know everything I can about this Jesus, because I'm not going to bank my life on something that I didn't pursue. So that's when I started really reading my Bible every day. Ended up reading the New Testament in a couple of months, and then went to the Old Testament, read the whole thing, because I wanted to know for myself, like, how real is this thing? And I just couldn't get enough, you know. Just this morning, going to Jesus this morning because I just can't get enough of knowing him personally, intimately. And that to me is when I begin to now discern and see the difference between just being religious and actually having a relationship with him, where my heart is attached to the things I'm doing, my mind is attached to it, my entire being is devoted to this thing. It's not just something that I do on a Sunday morning, or I'm just trying to look good, or just show that I'm a good person, but know that I'm actually pursuing what it means to follow him and walk with him and live in his will and in his purpose. And that's an ongoing process. I've been doing that for the last almost 22 years. Yeah,
that's awesome. And it's crazy that you say, like, your heart opened up to it, because that's what, like, when I was reading this book, my heart opened up to it to receive the kind of like the attack to my jugular, like, you need Jesus, like, but you don't just need Jesus, you need the reality, the realization of who Jesus is, to actually be like Jesus. And what I love about this book, you can see that it's a journey of your life being written in this book. And I love how you frameworked the book in two parts. And so the first part, you can see a lot of the journey of, like, battling through all this, untangling Jesus from religion. Kind of, can you show us, well, let me put this quote that you added in there by Gandhi. I like your Christ, but I don't like your Christians, because your Christians look nothing like your Christ. Now that hit me hard, because that's really showing, like, you were battling with this quote to say, like, hey, it has to do a lot of introspective work. So kind of, can you tell us, like, kind of like your framework into that part one of Untangling Jesus from all these sections?
Yeah, so as my journey began at the age of 20, you know, reading the Bible and going to church and really be immersed myself in it, you as you grow, you begin to realize there are some things that it wasn't necessarily the way Jesus intended to be. And in your zeal, in your passion, sometimes you end up adding to that mess, you know? And so you have to really be humble and honest and ask Jesus to work on you the things that doesn't really belong, you know? And so to me, this has been a long journey, years. I mean, even now, I feel like I'm still entangling things that are not necessarily there. Because I think, again, I don't think religion is evil or bad. I think it just gets in the way of the relationship. So growing up in church and you begin to pick up some things and you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't really align itself with the Jesus that I'm reading in scriptures. Because again, when I talk about, you know, the difference between, you know, Jesus versus religion, or Jesus versus legalism, Jesus versus tradition, is that Jesus was dealing with those things when he was here. You know, he was dealing with the denominations who had created so many sub-laws within the laws to try to keep people in line. And Jesus was trying to untangle that and showing them the heart of God in it, right? And so that's my way of kind of going back and seeing Jesus in a new light and seeing how he's done it in my life and still doing it.
Yeah.
And so it's an honest personal project in a sense to say, God, can I really be open enough for you to untangle things out of me so that I'm not just doing it for others? Because that's the danger of religion. The negative side of religion to me is when we become self-righteous and we think we have it all and no one else does. We have the copyright of truth.
Yeah.
And that's what was happening. Like denominations like the Pharisees and the Sadducees, they felt like they had the copyright of truth, and Jesus comes in the middle and wrecks all of that. And they hated Jesus for that, you know. Until this day, we're still seeing that struggling when people are trying to get to Jesus, but he goes against the grain of their denomination or their tradition. People begin to look at them weird. And so I think you have to be willing to run that risk of being misunderstood. Jesus was misunderstood like no one else, right? And so if we're going to get to his heart, then we have to be willing to be misunderstood by some people, sometimes people around us who mean well, but they are tangled up in religion. They're not seeing the heart. And so it really is an honest to goodness journey that I went through, especially coming to New Bedford and planting this church and seeing people's desire to know Jesus, because we live in a very highly religious area, right? The Northeast. But we saw so many people who had the concept of God and the concept of church, but they never really had the heart, right? But then you begin to talk about the gospel that way, people really respond to it. And so this is, it's a combination of personal, but also like the corporate wrestling with what is religion and what is following Jesus. And for me, being here for the last 7 years, I really kind of made a clear distinction between the two. Still get muddled once in a while, but it's an ongoing process. I hope that my desire is that people read this book and have that drive to say, you know what, I want to untangle. You know, I don't want to get caught up on just here, but I want to go deeper, even if that makes me uncomfortable. I think if Jesus is not making you uncomfortable, then you're not following him.
That's good.
You know what I mean? Like, it's going to make you uncomfortable to be like, oh, I see a Pharisee in me. I talk about that. Like, I see a Pharisee in me. I see tradition in me. You know, I see religion in me. I see self-righteousness in me. One of the things that stunned me is, personally, is like the more I read the Bible, the more I was becoming self-righteous. You know, as opposed to being humble, I'm becoming self-righteous. Because now it's like, I know the Bible. But it's like, is that really the heart of Jesus? Because Jesus said to those guys who were religious, he's like, you read the Bible, you missed my heart. You know what I mean? So again, it's an ongoing, hopefully, journey that we're all on.
And so, speaking to the person like who's not aware of religiosity, how would you find characteristics of religiosity in ourselves to combat? I know you just said Jesus will make you uncomfortable, but what are some other defining factors of religiosity within ourselves?
You know, I think one of the things, like, for people in the church already, I would say this, like, do you have joy in what you're doing? You know what I mean? Like, is there joy in your prayer life? Is there joy in your worship? Is there joy in your serving? Is there joy in going to church? Or is it an obligation? Is it a burden? Because that to me is a telltale sign. Because the things of God should have joy in them. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. But joy is different from happiness,
That's
right?
True,
Joy is like that spirit that's in you that just gives you that excitement about life. Even when things are hard, right? That the joy of the Lord is your strength. Right, that's the gift of the Spirit, right? You can't produce joy.
It's true.
We can do a lot. We can put on a front, but you can tell someone's not joyful.
It's true. It's true.
Like, you ever see someone talk to you about God, but they're mad? You know, every other YouTube person is angry. You know, it's like, wait, where's the joy? Because Jesus, when I read Jesus, I see someone who walked the earth with joy, even when it was difficult, even when it was hard. But he had that joy that attracted people to him. Here's the other thing that I think messes with me, I hope it messes with people in the church, is like, who is attracted to you? I don't mean romantically, but like in life. Because Jesus attracted people who you would never see in church, right? He attracted prostitutes, he attracted drug dealers. You know, back in those days, the drug dealers were the ones that were making money in a weird way. Like, he attracted people that normally you would attract to. Nowadays, people go to church, it's like, if you're just around people that look like you, are you really reflecting Jesus? You know what I mean? If the only people that feel comfortable with you around you are religious people, that's a problem. Because Jesus came to disrupt that, right? He even said, I didn't come for the one that's well, I came for the sick, right? When was the last time you saw someone who is well hang out at a hospital? You don't. You don't go hang out at a hospital and go, I want to have the hospital meal. You know? But you go to the hospital because you're broken, you're hurting. And Jesus was saying, like, I came for the broken, the hurting. And so to me, those are a couple of telltale signs. Is there joy? and who is attracted to you? Like, do you repel people, or do people feel like, if they're hurting and struggling, it's like, man, I want to go talk to that guy because he loves people and he prays for people, you know. So and to me, that heart of compassion, that heart of mercy that Jesus had, one of the things that he said that just drives me is when he said that like, who needs a doctor, the hurting or the sick, and he said, I came to call outsiders, not cuddle insiders. You know, and I think a lot of times within church we can just be cuddled. You know what I mean? Instead of being challenged to be like Jesus and to approach people like Jesus would. So again, I think I can go on and on, but that's a couple of telltale signs that, wait, is this thing really like for real? Like, do you get excited about pursuing him, or is this like an obligation? Like, you know, people are like, I got to go to church. It's like, no, you don't.
Dang, that's good.
If you love Jesus and you have his heart, it's like, man, I get to go to church. I got to, like, can you imagine, like, Jesus in heaven looking at you and going, oh, I'm so glad you came to church today, you know? Or I'm so glad you're reading my word. It's like, no, it's the driving force of your life, if he is the driving force of your life.
Man, that's so good. Man, I need to sit on that for a second. Who am I attracting? And do I bring a joy? That's so good. Because not a lot of people see that, because religiosity will keep us in. And that's what I saw when growing up. Like, it was just people inside the church. We all knew each other. And you say that's a nightmare if I were to come to church and I know everyone. Yeah, man, that
would be a nightmare for me. Think about it. Like, Jesus was always attracting a crowd, right? Now, when we say that, obviously everybody has their motives for why they're coming. You know, they can come because it's hype. They can come because they're selfish. They can come because a friend said come. But I love the fact that he was always attracting a crowd of people that you would not normally see in a church crowd, you know? And he drove the church people crazy that he would attract those people. And I'm like, man, I want to be like that, you know? And that's why I pray and hope that our church will always be open to the unchurched. And that this book is not just for people in the church. I believe this. People in the church need to read this book because you need to get the heart of Jesus. And people outside the church need to get this book because you never met Jesus. You know, you just met religion. And so you kind of threw the whole thing out. You threw the baby out with the bathwater. But I really believe that it should be a place where everybody gets to wrestle, right? Everybody gets to ask questions. Everybody gets to ask, why does this thing matter? You know, again, my conviction was, if Jesus is real, he says, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. Man, I need to know. Like, how, because I'm not going to bank my eternity on someone that I didn't get to know. And I just took someone else's take on Jesus. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people just have someone else's take on Jesus. They never personally pursued him to know for themselves.
It's a perfect segue to part 2. Part 1 was untangling. You had this like awesome wording, Jesus versus these certain things. And for part 2, you just put Jesus and like making him the center of part 2. And in the first chapter of that part is, who is Jesus? And I think you had the best theological statement for the first opening line. Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? I think that was awesome. Like, it just made me like, it made me tune in more, because I love how you use humor to bring Jesus. Because if we look at Jesus in the Bible, I think he used humor. And in bringing kids, you need to have a humor-based life to attract children. But who is Jesus? There's a lot of opinions in this world about who this amazing man is, but who is Jesus?
Well, first of all, for me, I wasn't trying to prove that God's real or Jesus is real. You know, this was not a apologetic book, or this wasn't like a deep theological book. This was more like a personal, you know, reflecting over the years or what Jesus has meant to me personally, because I think that a lot of times we focus so much on the ingredients of trying to prove or disprove that we don't taste the actual thing, you know. And I'm all into tasting. You know, I love to eat, so I use that analogy. That to me, it's about tasting and knowing him, right? So for me, this is more like a personal understanding of that, more than just this deep theological. Or again, some people do a great job with that. That's not my lane, and I love it. I respect it. I read it. But I think sometimes we're missing the heart of it just because we're breaking down ingredients. It's like putting food in front of you, but we talked about all the ingredients, but we never ate. You know what I mean? So for me, the real Jesus stands up when you actually know him personally. And Jesus asked that question, like, who do you say that I am? But I love that he asked that question twice. He said, who do people say that I am, right? And then he turned to his close students, and he says, what about you? Like, you've been walking with me.
Yeah.
And at that point, I think they were together for about 2.5 years, almost 3 years. And he says, who do you say that I am? You know, and I love that because I think proximity with someone gives you a different perspective on who they are.
That's good.
Right? Everybody has an opinion of you or me or anybody else, but when you get to know someone, that opinion changes.
Yeah.
Right? So for me, that whole like, will the real Jesus please stand up, is that, yeah, there's so many opinions of him, but you need to get close to him to actually get a revelation. Because I think it takes revelation, right? When he told Peter, Peter said, you are the Son of God, equal with God. Jesus said, you can only get that from the Spirit. In other words, being close gives you that revelation. You know, it's one thing to have head knowledge, right? It's another thing to have heart knowledge of a person or of a situation. So to me, it's all about like, okay, you need to pursue him personally to get a revelation. So you can actually say, wow, this Jesus really is who he says he is. And I'm not just taking that at face value because someone else told me, but because I pursued him and I've been pursuing him. And I will continue to pursue him because he continues to draw me to him.
That's awesome. And I think people see, and you've said it multiple times, like you will be the only Jesus sometimes people will see. And I like the passion that it exudes from someone who has that realization of Jesus, like will come to life in somebody else and they'll want to dive deeper. No, I love that. And there's this chapter, Everyday Love, where I feel like is the glue for the whole book. Can you just give us some color into like what went into that chapter?
Well, because again, the whole purpose, I think, that Jesus came was not just to give us head knowledge, but to give us a heart transplant, a heart transformation, where it leads to, first of all, it leads us to knowing who we really are, and it leads us to doing what we're supposed to be doing. So that whole concept of everyday love was, okay, let's not take this thing and make it another emotional thing, you know, that love, you know, I feel love. But it's like, no, the way Jesus loved was very action driven, right? For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only son. Like Jesus came to give himself to us, right? He says, I came to give my life as a ransom, right? And sometimes we stop at just like Jesus died on the cross for our sins. No, he came to show you how to live the love that God has for everyone. So everyday love is about actually taking now this reality that Jesus is real to me out into the world, out into my neighborhood, out into my marriage, into my parenting, into my day-to-day life. And I came with this idea of like breaking down love as in, you know, each letter meaning that, okay, what's the action behind it? Like L is for listening. You know, I think one of the things we're missing in this world is that we don't listen to each other. You know what I mean? We have our own opinions. We want to do our own thing. Everybody has their own platform now with social media, but we don't listen. Right?
It's true.
Jesus, why did Jesus attract people to him? Because he listened to people. Like how many scriptures you see, he says he had compassion for them, right? The word compassion is a compound word, right? It's with action, right? So I listen because I want to act with compassion, right? And then O it's for obey. Like, so I need to obey the promptings that the Jesus spirit in me leads me to obey. And that could be a small thing as like, man, I see that homeless man over there. I need to go over there and have a conversation with this person. Not just throw money at this person, but actually value this person, which is V, right? V is for value. It's like, how do we value people, right? We spend time with them, right? We invest in them. That's what Jesus did, you know? And then E is for empowering, right? That if I love someone, I'm gonna empower them, right? Why do I love books? I'm always giving you guys books, right? Book suggestions. Why? Because I believe books empowers your mind to think deeper about different things and different subjects, and it empowers you to now be effective in whatever area you're trying to be better at, right? We're sitting in our resource center and we have books behind us on every different categories of life because we believe that, hey, you want to be a better mom? Read about it. You want to be a better businessman? Read about it. And so to me, it's like, my way of empowering people is to give books. And so this time I wrote one that I'm hoping, honestly, I'm hoping this book is a tool, right? It's a tool to get someone to know Jesus better, but also to help another person know Jesus better. Because it's not enough for me. That's another telltale sign that you know Jesus. You don't want to keep it to yourself, right?
That's good.
You want other people to know it. Because when you find a good thing, you don't just keep it to yourself, right? So that's what this whole concept was. And I believe is what changed the world. Like those first students of Jesus received the Spirit of Jesus, and they went out and began to show this everyday love. And Jesus told them that, like, hey, people are going to know that you follow me by the way you love one another, And we sometimes in church, we gloss over that. But it's like, that's it. That's the whole thing. You say, listen, they will know that you follow me by the way you love one another. Not by how well you sing, not how well you preach, not how well you speak in tongues, all the great things that we do, but it's like, it's how well you love one another that people will actually know that you follow me. So that's another telltale sign. How well are you loving others? Wow. Because if you're not loving people well, then maybe you're not really getting the heart of Jesus.
Yeah, I love the love challenge because one, it's helped my marriage because listen, obey, value.
That's a good husband right there.
It helps I know it's going to help me as a father, but it's so true. It pushes me outside the bounds of myself, especially obey. Like you just said about the homeless man. Like there's a homeless man that waits over here by our building, and I see him every day, and the thought pops into my mind, hey, you just need to pull over and talk to him. And even just hearing you right now say it, it's like, okay, I need to make that a reality right now because that is the Holy Spirit nudging on me. And you constantly say, no matter where you go, God is going to move that mountain with you.
Right.
And like that's just God saying, hey, you need to open your heart a little more. You need to step outside the bounds.
And I think to me, that's where the excitement is.
Yeah.
That's when this Jesus that we talk about comes to life.
Yeah.
Right. It's when I take these steps and actually do them. I spend time with someone who no one is giving them the time of the day, but to say like, tell me your story, because we assume, right? We assume that's a bum, but it's like, you don't know the person's story.
Facts.
How would Jesus treat this person? It's crazy, but Jesus was homeless. The Son of God was homeless, right? And we say we serve a homeless man, but we don't reach a homeless man.
Yeah.
Think about
Wow.
that. That's crazy, is that?
That's crazy.
It's a homeless person who said, hey, I don't have a place to lay my head tonight. So if you want to come up, we're going to go, but we don't know where we're going to sit.
Yeah.
But we're going to lay today.
That's
and he did that on purpose, right? He didn't want to get tangled up to anything. And again, we can make a theology out of that. That's not what Jesus was doing. He was not saying everybody be homeless.
Yeah.
He was making a point. Like, I came here on assignment, to reach people, to lead them to the Father. And you should be doing the same exact thing. Yeah. And a lot of times we assume, we judge, we condemn, but we don't reach, And then we go to church, we're bored.
Yeah.
You know why we're bored? Because the Spirit of Jesus is not going with us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you see people in church sit bored out of their minds and wondering if this thing is real. It's not going to be real if there's no everyday love attached to it.
No, seriously. And I love how you always phrase, Sundays are just the locker room. It's not the end all.
Right.
It's just the beginning.
Absolutely. And if Sunday is not driving you into Monday and Tuesday, then
come on,
you're in religion.
Yeah.
You're not in relationship. Because we come here to draw near to Him, to get our assignment for the week, to go out there and execute it as husbands and dads, as business people or pastors and leaders, whatever that is. That everyday love should go with us, and that people are getting a glimpse of this Jesus. Again, going back to what you said, Gandhi had a problem because he said, man, I read the Jesus story, and especially the Beatitudes. Yeah. And he's like, man, that's amazing, that's powerful. And he was inspired to live like that. But he was like, I'm looking at these Christians and they don't look anything like that. That's the problem. That's where we need to untangle religion, because it's like, if all we are is people who have head knowledge and we're smarter than everybody, we're self-righteous, we're missing the heart of God, and we're missing why Jesus came in the first place. So we need to go back to that, and say, awesome. Jesus, what is your heart for me? And what is your heart for humanity? Because I can't give what I don't have. If that compassion is not in me, I can't fake it. You know what I mean?
Seriously.
It has to be in you. It has to come out of you. And so I think that's where the everyday love comes out of. It's like, if I'm spending time with Jesus every day, then that spirit that's in Him is also in me and will empower me to go out and be a blessing to people.
Oh, that's awesome. So I would love for you to bring us in behind the scenes. What did it look like with this book, like stirring in you? Like what started it, and like where was that like a whole journey?
Yeah. I think it started a little bit over a year ago when we did a series on this. We did a series every Sunday for, I think it was about 6 or 7 weeks, Untangling Jesus from Religion. And then I honestly forgot about it, and then it just started coming back to me, especially during the whole COVID process, just trying to figure out how to spend my time and how to help people connect, especially not seeing people. Preaching to empty buildings was a challenge. And so in that moment, I began to feel the stirring of, okay, what if we put that on paper? What if we have tools that we can actually give to people, and they can read it and then pass it on to other people? And that's where really the inspiration came from. And then to be more practical, it was just sitting down with it. I grabbed all my notes from the series, sat with it and said, okay, but how do I translate that into a conversation?
Yeah.
You know, because preaching is mostly one way.
Yeah.
But I was like, I love for this to feel like a conversation.
Yeah.
So I sat with it and kind of distill it to, okay, if I'm sitting down having a conversation,
Yeah.
what would that sound like? And so every week I would spend a couple of hours, you know, going at it until I was able to get to this place. But my passion behind it is that we can really help people inside and outside. Again, I must say this again. I hope people in church don't just dismiss it and say they think they already know it. That's a problem.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, I think we, the church people, should be the first ones to read this book, then bring it out into the world and help the world see it, you know, because a lot of times I'm seeing church people miss Jesus.
Yeah.
Right? That's a dangerous thing, to be in his house but miss his heart.
Wow.
And that happens, right? The story that Jesus tells of the prodigal son, everybody focuses on the prodigal son, but Jesus was talking about the older son. Because if you go back to the beginning of that story, his audience was mixed. It was a mixed audience of religious people and unchurched people.
Yeah.
And Jesus was like, let me tell you guys a story. You know, and what he was doing is he was saying, hey, you're the older brother, the religious, and you're the younger, you're the one that's wasteful, like prodigal. But he says, in that audience, right, and in that culture, if you're older, you're supposed to look out for the younger. But in that story, the older brother never went out to look for the younger.
Yeah.
He actually got mad when the younger came home.
back.
And so Jesus was trying to reconcile the two. He's saying, like, this is not just a story of the prodigal son, it's a story of the two sons.
Yeah.
Right? We've made it just a prodigal son story, but it's the two sons. And who's in the middle of the two sons? The father. And what does the father do? The father says, man, my son was lost. We're going to celebrate him. The older is mad, but the father says, no, but all of this is yours too. Right? So what is Jesus doing? He's reconciling the world and the church into one. Like he wants everyone to come into this relationship with him. And I pray we get that, you know, that there's no us versus you. It's us, humanity, on this journey. And then there's God in the middle, the Father saying, man, I want all of you.
Yeah.
Man, that preaches.
Yeah.
That gets
so
me excited.
good. About to do some circles right now.
Yeah, seriously. Let's take an offering.
What do I got? What do I got?
Yeah, see, we say that, we have to be careful because then people say, oh, you see?
Oh, you just want money.
Oh, they want money. It's like, no, that was a joke. That was a joke.
So what was the hardest chapter to write?
Wow, that's a good question. Probably self-righteousness.
Okay.
Because that is so fleeting. Because the moment you think you're not self-righteous, the moment that you are.
Wow.
Right? And self-righteous is the hardest part to teach because we all want to feel like we earned something. And we all want to feel like we're good people.
Yeah.
You know? So self-righteousness is probably the hardest chapter because we all get caught up somewhere, somehow, that we earned it or deserved it or that we know it.
So true.
You know? And so that story of the young rich ruler really gets to me.
Yeah.
Because here's a guy who was moral, right? He seemed like he was doing the right thing. And Jesus, though, pokes at his heart, which he pokes at all of our hearts. He says, hey, what if you go sell everything, come back and follow me? And to him, that was his thing.
Yeah.
It was like he cared more about his wealth than he cared about his heart. But in that chapter, I talked about how for him it was that, but for Judas, it was his political reasons why he betrayed Jesus. For Peter, he was just being a coward in the moment. You know? So all of us have something that gets in the way. Yeah. And we think it could be, honestly, it could just be like, hey, I'm a good person. Yeah. Sometimes the person who thinks they're good are farthest from Jesus and the person who thinks they got nothing going on. You know, it's the prayer, right, of the Pharisee and the guy who came to church, right? Jesus told that story. It's like the Pharisee came in and said, thank God that I'm not like this guy, I'm not like that guy. And the other guy just said, Lord, have mercy on me, right? And he says, which one do you think went home justified? Wow. Right? Because self-righteousness could get in the way of the grace of God and the gospel of Jesus. So that was the toughest one to write because I think all of us have that in us. Yeah. And the moment you don't see it, that's the moment you're struggling with it.
Oh, it's so good. Especially with culture now, it's like leaked into the church so much that self-righteousness is a big thing. Especially with social media, there's a platform. Yeah. Everyone has that platform. Yeah.
So, everybody's good.
Yeah, everyone's amazing and awesome. What was like the chapter that got you like the most excited to release this book right away?
Oh man, I really love the chapter on Jesus as a friend, you know, and he's way more than that, right? Yeah. But a lot of times I feel like the things that we take for granted is the stuff I like to focus on.
Yeah.
You know, that Jesus said, I no longer call you slaves. I call you friends.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Man, so
powerful,
good.
man. Like, and that's what I've experienced in the last 20 plus years. Like, I have such a fear of God, which is the beginning of wisdom, but I also know that I have a friendship with him. You know what I mean? That I don't take for granted. Just knowing that, just this morning praying, like, man, I get to have this relationship with a God I may not see, but I know he's real. I know he's real to me, and he's been real to me. And my prayer is that everybody can get to that place of having a friendship with Jesus. So,
I know you mentioned it already, but what do you hope your readers take away from this book?
oh, I just hope and pray that people just have a better understanding of Jesus over religion, that they would not just settle for religion, but they would really want to have a relationship with Jesus himself. Yeah. And I really believe this. Like, it may sound crazy because I wrote it, but I think anyone can read this book.
Yeah, it's true.
Like, I would love for an atheist to read this book. I would love for a skeptical to read this book.
Yeah.
I would love for a Muslim to read it, a Buddhist.
Let's go.
I don't care. Like, I think any human being could read this book and get something out of it.
Yeah,
I really believe that.
That's awesome. And so if you could just let us know where we can buy this book.
So the book is available on Amazon online. It's available on Barnes & Noble's online. And Zulon Press is the publishing company that I used online. So those are the places that you can find it. And then it will be available here at the Resource Center in our store.
Great. Well, I just want to say thank you for writing this book. I mean, it's blessed me, and I know it's going to bless every reader that reads it. I truly believe you're going to see a great return on this, people coming to Jesus from it. So thank you for writing this book, and I'm really blessed by it.
Thank you.
So if you haven't picked up this book, you need to pick up this book. And if you picked up this book and already read it, share it. Go on your social media, share it like crazy. We want to bless people with this book, Untangling Jesus from Religion. It has everything you need to live a Christian life and have the heart of Jesus for this world. So we pray that you are blessed by this, and pray that you have a good night. God bless you.